Hello.
Here we go. Okay. I'm Jack Walsh. I'm co-chair of the committee, and see, get right down to business. Let's do some introductions and go around. I'll just go on my screen when I see Mark. You want to go first?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
My name is Mark McCarthy. I'm here representing the town of Harwinton and the town of Litchfield for gaining support from the NVCOG for our grant application for a routing study between Thomaston and Torrington.
Great. Paul?
Yeah, Paul Benevich, Watertown Town Engineer.
Okay. Richard? NVCOG, Richard.
Good morning. I'm Rich Donovan. I'm the Director of Transportation Planning with NVCOG.
Okay.
I'm Richard Crowther, the Senior GIS Analyst at NVCOG.
Okay. Got both.
There's too many of us. We all share the same name.
Christine?
Hi, I'm Christine O'Neill. I'm an environmental planner with NVCOG. I'll be running the slides today, so just tell me next. And everyone sends his regrets. He is on vacation, so Mark and I will be covering.
Hopefully someplace warm. Carrie?
I'm Carrie Stoley. I'm the Park and Rec Director in Harwinton, and I'm working with Mark for the application.
Okay. Larry?
Hi, my name is Larry Wissink. I'm on the Beacon Falls Conservation Commission, and I wanted to get some insight from you guys also about the Trails grant application.
Okay. James? James Stewart? There we go.
Yeah, Jim Stewart, Public Works, Naugatuck.
All right. Amanda?
Hi, Amanda Birch from Thomaston Greenway Committee.
Okay. Jerry?
Jerry Lukowski, Director of Public Works, Watertown.
Okay, let's see. Stacy?
Hi, everybody. Stacy Savchak. I am from Thomaston.
I think you're having a little trouble with your audio. You're breaking up there. Okay. Brian?
Hi, everyone. Brian Sirwich, Town of Seymour.
Okay. Mark?
Mark Nielsen, NVCOG.
Okay, did I miss anyone?
I just joined. Done.
Okay, Kim?
Kim Bradley, DEEP Trails and Greenways Coordinator.
And let's see, Mark? Mark, there we go.
Yeah, hey, Mark Jewell, VHB.
Okay. And again, I forgot to mention again, I'm co-chair of the committee, but I'm from Derby. I've been on this committee longer than I've been alive, I think. But in any case, we got a lot to get through today, so let's start. We did the introductions, and the big thing that appears to be of major interest is the deep recreation trails applications. So, Christine, you want to? You have slides to show us on that?
Yeah, so we'll turn it over to Harwinton first. I think Mark is here, right? Or
Yeah, I'm here, and I have Carrie Stoley from Harwinton. I've spoken with many different folks, some of who are actually on today's call. I'm trying to pick up a kind of the ball where a section between Thomaston and Torrington did have a routing study done in 2020, but ran into some major pushback. I'm trying to, in a sense, take response from that and push forward a grant application and help the town of Harwinton and the town of Litchfield. This section of the Naugatuck River Greenway runs along the border of the two towns, and really focus on updating that routing study and moving to a preliminary design for the sections 1, 2, and 3. There was a very substantial amount of pushback on sections 4 and south, and in speaking with various folks who were involved in putting that together, it doesn't seem as though it's realistic to sort of pursue that, at least at this stage. And so I'd rather see some progress on the upper sections and allow some continued development there. You see it on the map. Basically, that's section 1 going around the cement plant of O&G. There are various alternatives. And in order to have a more productive conversation ultimately with the owner of that cement plant, you need to have some conceptual design work. But the alternatives are there in order to move that ball forward. So that's really the purpose of, because this section falls outside of the NVCOG, falls in the Northwest COG. It's encouraging now that Rista has moved over there, and gaining her insight, especially coming from Torrington, has been very helpful and useful. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but rather just push the ball down the field a little bit more. There's been conversations within the two towns. This section 1 going around the cement plant is naturally going along the riverbed, is a little bit more complicated. Section 3 is the complete opposite, utilizing Valley Road, which is essentially just painting a section of a very unused section of road. And section 2 kind of goes alongside an abandoned section of the railroad. So I think the main focus here is to be able to move from updating the routing study, moving towards preliminary design, in order to actually conceptualize progress on this section of the trail that otherwise hasn't really had a champion behind.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment on this? Been talking about this for a while. All right, then let's move on to discussing all the requests for support. How many on the call are actually going to be applying? I know Derby decided not to. Terry, did you have your hand up?
Beacon Falls is going to be applying, but I don't know. I've never talked with you guys, so I don't know if that's a.
Yeah, so
relevant
Jack,
or not.
if it's helpful, we have like a different slide for each of the ones that reached
Oh,
out
okay,
to
great.
us.
Yeah,
But then
why don't
at
you
the
walk us
end
through?
for Larry, at the end, we do have one that says anybody else. So at that point, you can definitely
Beautiful.
tell us
Okay.
about Beacon.
Right, go ahead.
So is Stacy, I know Stacy was having some connectivity issues. Are you able to talk about Thomaston's?
Can you hear me now?
There we
That's
go.
better.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I went through a dead zone, unfortunately. Oh, no, I had just put my hand up as somebody is that we were going to be applying, but I don't want to take you out of your planned organization here.
I think you're in luck because we're on the Thomaston slide. So if you want to take it away, go for it.
Oh, wow. It's meant to be. Okay. So last year we had applied and we were.
Oops. I think we lost her again. Stacy, we can't.
And Amanda, please chime in at any time. 150, which we are very grateful for. I'm so sorry. Can you hear? Oh, Amanda, please take over. You can hear me.
I got it. I'm here. Hi. So like Stacy was saying, last year we applied for the Rec Trails grant. We asked for 250 and we are awarded 150. So after talking to Aaron recently, we are going to apply again for the remaining 100,000 that we were not awarded to finish up the design for one of our sections.
How long a section of trail is this?
So this is section 7. I don't know the exact distance off the top of my head, but it will be going from basically our Water Pollution Control Authority area up to the Route 8 off-ramp in Thomaston.
Okay. All right. Anything else to talk about for Thomaston?
Not at this time.
Okay, Christine, you want to move on? And Brian has his hand up, and I see that the next section is Seymour, so.
Yep. Hi,
Right.
everyone. Yeah, we're just kind of looking to, we're considering doing a routing study to identify a preferred alignment for the entirety of Seymour. So right now we have a little portion near the Teague Dam, and what we'd like to do is figure out the best way to connect the rest of it, up to the Beacon Falls town line, and then down to an area to hopefully connect to a portion of the Kinneytown Dam application area that I have to follow up with Aaron on. So yeah, that's it. We just want to help the process further and start getting an understanding of where we can put this thing.
Have you come to any conclusion on which side of the river you'd go to?
We still have to determine that. Probably we would be on the west side of the river, obviously near the train tracks. But I'm not sure which side of the train tracks at this stage. We'll probably have to reach out to Mark Jewell with VHB, who's on here, and others to do the right thing, correct thing.
Okay. Anything else from Seymour?
Brian, would it be possible for me to connect with you later about that connecting to Beacon Falls?
Yeah, absolutely. Larry, what's I'm on the email. Shoot me a email, or I'll reach out to you if you want.
Or okay, Christine, would you have Brian's email if you could? I know you emailed me, but
Sure, I could do
And
that.
you can enter it in the chat as well right now if you want.
all right, that I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, Ansoni, do we have anyone from Ansoni here? Well, Christine, you want to talk about it? You got the rendering of what the new complex that they're going forward with, so. You want to
Yeah,
talk?
unfortunately, I thought Sheila was going to be here, so I don't have an update. Mark, do you know anything about it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing either, so we'd have to wait for Sheila to either come on or get more information to the board.
What you do see on there, I'll just give you a quick discussion. It's that was the former Olson Drive apartment complex, and it was a community center there. That was all demolished, sitting vacant, but there's a proposal to turn it into an athletic complex, which you can see there, both indoor and outdoor, and that was a preliminary design that was submitted, at least a year, maybe 2 years ago, I think. So that's what Sansoni is looking at, and of course, this would be from their existing area on Pershing Drive going up towards Seymour, so. Okay, next.
I see Mark raised his hand. Did you want to?
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, Mark,
Can you hear me? Okay?
go ahead.
Can you hear me, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, so the city of Ansonia, my understanding, is going to be applying for additional funds to assist with the design that they were successful at receiving last year. They received a partial award last year, and it's the city needs to supplement that to get the final design on that section that was identified as the preferred alignment in that study.
And it would extend past Olson Drive up towards Nolan Field, correct?
Correct. It would go from where the trail ends today at Pershing Drive and Clifton Street, and it would extend all the way down and up to Nolan Field, correct, which is essentially the border with Seymour. And then if Seymour starts an alignment study, they'll be able to just dovetail right in at the border and head north.
Okay.
So just to clarify, and maybe someone can follow up with Ansonia, I just want to note that I was just going back to our records for DEP. Ansonia was awarded their full request, so they requested $272,000 for an overall project of $340,000 for design. They were awarded $227,000 or 272,000. So is this maybe a, but we could, you know, follow up, but I'm guessing maybe the design costs were exceeded what they requested, or, you know, just, I would say just ensure that there's justification as to that request, because they did get what they requested.
Okay.
Whereas comparably, as Thomaston noted, they were a partial award, so that makes complete sense to come back for the remainder.
All right, if Sheila comes on, we'll let her talk about it, so, okay. The Kennytown section?
Yeah,
So-
so I could take this one. So many of you are familiar with the Kennytown Dam Removal Project. It's this massive effort that is being funded by a $15 million federal grant, and part of revitalizing that whole property involves planning a section of the Naugatuck River Greenway through the property. So we have this very rough sketch of what it would look like here. The orange is what is on the Kennytown property, and that's about 170 acres of property. We expect this trail to be about like 2.5 miles. And the green part you see is off the property, but we had hoped to also apply not just for a routing and design for this part of the trail, but for some conceptual drawings for linking into other existing pedestrian networks. And it's awesome to hear Brian talk about his plans for Seymour to also get it sort of connected. So we're really excited about this. It's part of sort of our master plan for the Kennytown property, and we're really excited to get NRG support on this. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Now, is the dam going to be totally removed or not?
That is the plan, to get the dam totally removed, restore the fish passage, and then this is part of our restoring public access to the river.
Okay. Been a long time in the making.
Sorry, dumb question. Is that in Seymour, the Kennytown?
No, that's not a dumb question. It's both. This is Seymour and Ansonia, actually. So the top part is Seymour and the bottom part's Ansonia.
And
Yeah.
again, the dam hasn't been fully functional or generating.
Okay, yeah, I think I
Oh, okay.
driving on Route 8.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments, questions? All right. Want to move on?
Yeah, I'll take this one too. So we received a request from the Western Connecticut Council of Governments. They are applying for a planning study for an east-west trail is what they're calling it. And this is, the plan is to connect the Empire Trail in New York to the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which does include a direct connection to the Naugatuck River Greenway. It's a really ambitious project. They're trying to get funding for studying and routing this. And so they've asked that we would endorse a letter of support for this.
Where do they plan to connect to the Farmington?
That's a good question. And Jack, I think that's part of what they intend to do with this is, I think, and we see it as well. I mean, we have a lot of these, trail projects, here, there, and all over. And, how can we, connect them, to make a, integrated, system of trails. River Cog is doing a similar type of study, and more in Eastern Connecticut to try to extend the airline trail through Portland into Middletown and Meriden to connect with the Farmington Canal in Cheshire. So, that's a study that's being funded and is in the works. And I think WestCog is looking to try to do a similar type thing, coming from the west and connecting with the trail in New York. So how they're going to go and where they're going to connect, that's to be determined. I think that's what they're going to be looking at. Where does it make sense? What can they use? Because there isn't an obvious path right now, but the intent of the study is really to figure that out.
So a much longer timeline on this.
Yeah, probably. Because I don't, and Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they're really looking at any design money in this. It's more just a planning side, like what we did for the Torrington to Thomaston routing study to really just sort of look at, what could be done, gauge some public interest in doing it. Again, they'd like to take advantage of like either the Larkin Trail or the Middlebury Greenway, use one of those two connections, and then, figure out how to go from, Naugatuck Greenway over to the Chester, Farmington Canal in Cheshire. So yeah, a lot of high level planning is what they're looking at.
Okay, very good. All right, Christine, you want to move on?
Yeah, and I think this might be the last one for you. So this is a little different. It really doesn't have directly to do with the Naugatuck River Greenway, but Oxford has reached out to us. They obtained through the OSWA program, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with, the Open Space and Watershed Land Acquisition Program. They obtained this property that's about 62 acres. And there's links with the Pomperog Blue Blazed Trail and some Connecticut Park and Forest Association land. And they're just looking to sort of figure out how to connect with those. They're thinking about putting in parking space for about 40 cars, and they want some funding to kind of design the trail and the connections and the amenities there. So just asking for our support on that.
Okay. All right, any questions about Oxford? Okay, so any others that we don't know about? I mentioned Derby had explored the idea, but then decided not to apply in this round. Any others? Krista?
I'm not sure if they're going to apply this year or potentially next year. But I know that Harwinton is looking at an application too.
Okay.
And so I can share that as soon as I get any further information.
Hey, Rista, we spoke at the
perfect.
beginning.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a little late. Great.
No problem.
Okay, normally in the past, we just kind of written letters of support for all the ones that, came before us. So I'll just
Sorry, Beacon Falls will be applying for a grant. I don't know if this is the right time to talk about that, or
Yeah,
at
go
least
ahead.
we're intending to. So we're a little bit late in the game. I think we only learned about this last month, and so we've kind of been figuring what we would want to apply for, and we have some applications that we basically put together a proposal for at least one spur trail that would connect Kent Road town to the Naugatuck State Forest Trail, and we're talking about other potential trails in town that could also be part of the application. And I dug up the routing study from 2010 and read that, and that's kind of why that's why I joined today. I wasn't sure, if it makes sense to apply for a grant for a routing study like Seymour is doing, or there was information in that study from 2010. I don't know what's happened with that since then, or where to begin, I guess.
Would you be considering the link to Seymour?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't possibly, yes, right? Like I think, like I know that the discussion was that to build the trail from Seymour to up through Toby's Pond, and then going up Main Street to connect to the walkway along the river in Main Street. So yeah, so I think what seems to be the bigger challenge is, of course, like the north part of Beacon Falls, when it goes through the hillsides on both sides, and I feel like that's the part that's going to be the most difficult to do. But I would love to have some, get some momentum on on the Greenway Trail. So I guess I'm looking for support and for, help in that discussion, or what would make sense.
And
Mark, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're interested, please reach out to Aaron and we can meet with you separately next week.
Yeah.
And go through what we have already come up with and what sort of would make sense. And again, the COG is here to give assistance with putting together the application if you need it, mapping and things like that. So if you're kind of uncertain, reach out to Aaron and we can set up a meeting next week. And he's very familiar with all the routing studies and try to figure out pros and cons of different alignments or issues with some different alignments, and then it'd be up to your decision whether you want to pursue something or not. It doesn't hurt to put together an application, because at least it gets you start thinking about it, and even if it's not successful this year, there's always next year going forward. So it's always worth the effort.
Can I ask a dumb question, right? Like I'm looking at these amounts for grants, and my mind is my eyeballs are popping out, right? So like I don't know what a correct number of digits is for a routing study, or right? Like we were looking at $2,000 for this spur trail, right? Like that seemed like a lot of money to me, but like I'm seeing, maybe I'm not thinking broadly enough or something.
Well, and that sometimes becomes an issue because to hire a consultant engineer to put together a study or a design isn't cheap. And you want to put in for enough money to be able to do the work that you want to do. Like we did the Torrington to Thomaston routing study, and it was basically underfunded, and the COG ended up having to sort of supplement, not a lot. I think it was like $10,000 that we sort of stuck in of our own money. So 150 is probably a ballpark estimate for a good routing study. And the town is required to come up with a 20% match. You can get creative with that match, because the nice thing about the Deep Rec Trails is they allow in-kind contributions. So allocating staff time is always acceptable.
Or volunteer time.
You don't have to actually come up with cash, but you can come up with other ways of coming up with this in-kind match. So again, I would talk to Aaron. He might have a better sense. I tend to be a little bit asking for more money because I've had experience where the town's underfund something and they can't do what they want to do, and so it's always better to be a little bit more conservative with your numbers. So, but again, I would reach out to Aaron, and he can we can provide a lot of advice.
And he's back next week, right? Like that.
I believe so, right, Christine? I think he's back. He was just gone.
Yeah, Wednesday. So a week from today, he'll be back.
Okay. Yeah, we have Monday off, so
me too.
So reach out to him. And again, you can always send him an email, so it's in his inbox, and he'll go through them when he gets back. So but reach out to us on Wednesday. We can talk.
Thank you.
Jim, do you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Aaron is definitely, in the COG, NVCOG particularly, has been a great resource for the town. So please utilize them and work with them on some of your estimates. I do want to say I've been having discussions with a range of partners who are looking at grants this year. It seems, particularly design costs are going up. We are providing more funds, which is more demand on some of our consultants. So I think Mark is very correct in thinking about the cost estimates of what the projects will take. It's always easier. This is a reimbursement grant. So, on a quarterly basis, yep, you put, but it's not all of it at once. We definitely want you to bill quarterly, so it doesn't build up too much. However, that means that if you complete the project and under the amounts allocated, we could always return those to the funds to be reallocated to the program. So, if you're a bit over, that's never a big deal. It's always better to have
Better
some
to bid
funds that are
over.
returned than to not have enough to do the work you
Okay.
need to do.
Okay.
And as Mark noted, we are, let me know if you have any questions about match. We do accept a broad range of match, so it's not going to be just financial contributions. In kind is a very important aspect of that. So Mark, great job. I didn't even have to say much of anything.
Great. All right, any others? All right, generally, as I said, we have written letters of support for all those applying. I don't know if someone wants to make a motion to that effect to support these applications. And generally, Rista and I sign off on it once it's been approved by this group. So, someone want to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, from Stacy, do I hear a second? Rista, you trying to second it?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Okay, and I'm sure Aaron will work on, the languages as he always does, and then we'll get that out. And good luck to everybody, again, this is a long-term project. I can't even remember how many years ago we started on this, but it's happening. It is happening. So that's the bottom line. And it's great because it's also tied to me, economic development, everything else. This river was one of the most polluted rivers in the entire country. And now we're talking about recreation up and down. That's just fantastic. So, okay. The raise application, I think we already talked about the Ansonia's routing study, so I think we can go directly to Waterbury here. And Christina, you taking this?
No, Jack, I was going to talk about the raise application.
Go ahead.
And basically, we were approached first by Waterbury with the idea of applying for raise money. Raises from USDOT. It's a very substantial pot of money to do a lot more expensive, much more complex types of projects. Anyhow, the first idea was to focus in on the northern sections of Waterbury, and then we brought in Watertown, Naugatuck, and Thomaston to sort of create this much more comprehensive application. So what we're looking at is a 16-mile corridor between Naugatuck and Thomaston. And the idea is to fund the full design activities for all what we're calling gap sections, all the sections that no work has been done on to date. We have a couple of completed sections. We have a couple of sections that are being funded under rec trails. Let's get everything all done. And the old phrase used to be shovel ready. We're now talking about shovel worthy, in that we'll have the full design plans. We'll do all the environmental and assessments required for NEPA. So everything for all these sections will be completed and done. And when construction dollars become available, we don't have to do design. We're all set. We can get started. And like I said, it's about a 16-mile corridor. And we have about 6 miles that no work has been done at all. No design has been done. So that's going to be the focus. It's 2 sections in northern Waterbury, a section in Naugatuck, and then we're going to fill in the gaps in Thomaston. And as we started talking about with the rec trails, some of the towns are looking for additional money because what they had received previously isn't sufficient to do the design. If we get awarded this, we would finish the design of all those sections that maybe are underfunded. So very, very comprehensive type of project. We are submitting that probably in about a week or so. The narrative is pretty much put together. We've put together a budget. And you're talking about money, we're looking at close to a $5 million ask under raise. So like I said, this is not a insignificant project. If it gets awarded, it gives the potential of doing a lot of work. So, we're optimistic and, hoping that it's going to be successful. But if it is, we're going to have a lot of stuff done.
And Mark, Waterbury already had a successful raise grant years ago, right, for some of the work.
Yeah, and that's under design, and part of that is including a section of the Greenway from Eagle Street up to West Main Street. I think it's just about 2.2 miles, and that's being funded under the raise grant they just got the other 2022, I think. And again, that's what we're sort of saying. This new application is going to be a continuation of past funding, so we can complete these gaps and actually make a interconnected trail. And again, the problem with a couple of these sections, they're challenging. They're going through some environmental contaminated areas, so that's why we want to do full NEPA. They're going to be close to railroad tracks, that we have to resolve how best we're going to do that. We're going to be bouncing back and forth across the river, so we're going to have some crossings at a couple of points. So again, this design effort would actually design those structures and identify best location for where they should go across. So so it's the northern sections of Waterbury that are the most challenging because of the land use that it goes through. But this is the only way we feel we're going to get these things designed. The cities and towns don't have the resources to do it on their own. So by creating this combined study and asking for federal dollars under a raise program, we figure is the best way of going.
Yeah. Good idea. Larry, you have your hand up?
I did, because I wondered if you had discussed Beacon Falls in that discussion.
No, unfortunately, because of some of the things that you sort of mentioned earlier, we don't know how we're going to go from Greenfield and Naugatuck down to downtown Beacon Falls. And so we're looking at sections that we have a fairly good understanding of the alignment and what are some of the issues. And we've talked about we had talked about it very, very briefly about going down into Beacon Falls, and the consensus was sort of maybe let's not go too, let's work on areas that we know.
And Mark, if I can just add in, we did, one of the other elements behind it is we're trying to use funds that are already allocated as the non-federal share. And so if we were to extend down into Beacon Falls, which we know will be an expensive section to design through the Naugatuck State Forest, it would require then additional funds that we don't have available. And so either that would have meant the towns would have to pay in, or we would have had to find some other non-federal source for it.
Okay,
but completing this study would benefit Beacon Falls in the long run, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mark, Jim Stewart here. I have some new ideas of how to get to Beacon Falls. With the mayor's putting together this industrial park.
Right.
And then there seems to be a electrical a pole line that goes behind the treatment plant that as far as I know would lead right to the railroad bed road down there, which leads right into Beacon Falls. So as far as, I'm not saying for this application, but it's something that we might want to walk someday and just get an idea of how easy or hard it is.
Yeah,
and that's from Seymour to Beacon Falls, you mean, right? That's not the
It's Naugatuck. Naugatuck to the Naugatuck Forest, which leads right to Beacon Falls.
So on the west side of the river.
On the west side of the river.
Yes. And Jim, when we did meet with the mayor, he brought that up as a possibility, and as Rich sort of indicated, we started getting concerned about the non-federal share. US DOT type projects, they want cash in hand for the non-federal share more than in kind. They're
I'm
a little
just,
bit
I'm just talking about future.
Yeah. So
I think that section is logically the next
Next
big
section.
piece. Once
Yeah, I
this
mean, the difficulty.
hopefully once this raise grant is awarded and done.
The difficulty I see is that it going from Breens to over the river in that location, if the mayor's train project comes to fruition, you're gonna have to cross the tracks under or over again, and you're gonna end up in a rail yard or something. So it makes it even harder to go that way. So, but anyway, we can talk about it at some point.
Yeah, and again, if this raise application is approved, we'll have an opportunity to sort of refine the scope and work with Federal Highway, and then they may be amenable to include some preliminary assessment or study of going farther, even if it isn't. Again, this project is really looking at design. We're not doing feasibility studies per se. No, we know where we're going. We want to get the design. So, but you never know. There could be an opportunity. Again, the first thing is let's get the application in. Let's hopefully we get approved and go forward.
Hey, Mark, what's the timeline for the submission and approval or rejection, whatever?
Well, the submission is February 28th is the deadline. We're hoping to get it in either this Friday or early part of next week. And they do say that they're supposed to be making the announcements for raise awards in June, right, Rich?
Yeah, but before the end of June.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions about the raise?
Yeah, just for Mark and Rich, this is Jerry from Watertown. Has there been any thought on keeping the trail in Watertown or crossing over to Thomaston from the walk that we did about a month ago?
I think that's something that's going to have to get decided once some funds are in place, and we'll, we can do cost benefit analysis on both sides and figure out what makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Aaron was involved with that walk, and he has a little bit better understanding of, because I guess when you guys did that walk, some of their initial thoughts of the alignment of sort of may not be feasible. So again, part of this raise application will be to verify some of those issues that we have come up with. So that will be resolved one way or another early on in this project.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. And just for Watertown, we also have the Steel Brook that's under design. We're at PD working with Weston and Sampson and the DOT, and we're getting prepared to put out our RFQ for north of the state bus depot up to Thomaston. And we'll be working with Kim, making sure that we have the right paragraphs in the RFQ to make the consultant selection. I just wanted to give those two other updates.
Right. Okay, let's move on. Ansonia routing study. Any update on that other than what we already talked about on Olson Drive to Nolan Field? Okay, Waterbury Raise. Anyone from Waterbury want to give an update?
I can just, what I know is that they are in design, and the first part of that project, part of the design is doing all the environmental assessments along that corridor. So it's underway. I don't have any further update on that, but it is moving along.
Okay, you've got a great slide here for the Derby section. You can see the Derby Shelton Bridge. One side is done, the other side has been under construction for a lot longer than expected, and Main Street is moving along. But Mark, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's probably it. I think they sort of had to wrap up all the utility work, and I think that's what sort of took the time. And then they were sort of shut down during the winter. we can get a better update, but I believe they're going to start starting the construction on the south side real soon, probably early March. So hopefully that will move right along once they get back out there.
Yeah, it's a little bit, to me, it's unfortunate that they kind of shut down where the other construction firm was going gangbusters
Yeah,
on Main Street, so.
yeah, the 34 project is really moving, very quickly. It's, they've moved the traffic to the south side, they did all the, obviously the slope. They're putting in the paver sidewalks and parking lanes. And they're going to be working on making that connection with the Derby Shelton Bridge, so the whole Greenway and the bridge and 34 all tied together.
Right, that area that you see there with the red bricks, that's a parking space.
Right.
It will also be at the entrance to the Greenway, which is right on the river there, and they're preserving historic monument as part of that little park there as well. So that's definitely moving along, and I hope it'll be completed by the end of this year, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the timeline was. Karen is keeping on top, but I think fall is the
Right now, we're talking about late autumn 24.
Yeah,
late autumn. Okay, and then right after that, I just mentioned quickly there are other projects with the train station in downtown Derby, which will be getting underway as this is completed. So a lot of stuff going on in Derby. All right, how about other updates? Any of the other communities? Anyone else have an update on their projects? Okay, if none, we'll move on to another raise issue. Is anything beyond what Mark has already discussed here?
No, just to keep in mind that when the infrastructure law was passed, a number of years ago, they did authorize raise for 5 years. So there is two more rounds of raise coming up after this one. So just keep that in mind, that if you didn't submit something, for this round, get ready for next round, because the NOFO for this will come out again about the same time. What was it, November-ish? Late November was when it's likely to come out for 25. And we always encourage people to get ready for it. Because then that way, because it is a tight turnaround to put together an application. So if you do some work during the year to get prepared, it makes the process a little bit easier.
All right, how about the Connecticut DOT micro grant program? Who can give us an update on that?
Yeah, so we're still they're still finalizing some of the details about this. But the department has put together a program to issue grants of $5,000 or less to eligible nonprofit organizations, to towns, to effectively to anybody who has some kind of involvement in active transportation. And so these are meant for they can be used for things like installing bike racks or improving seating areas, or anything that can be done under that $5,000 limit. We expect that the first round of this will probably open somewhere in fall of this year, but we'll share more as they move forward and finalize details on it.
Could signage be part of that?
I believe so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, something to think ahead. And you said in the fall?
Yeah, if I remember right, and I'll double check and let everybody know if I'm wrong here, but I think they want to host the first solicitation for this around October.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other opportunities? Okay, let's move on. Events and public outreach. Every year we talk about the trail event. I guess that'd be in June again. If someone want to pick up that topic and give us an update? Or plans that people already have? Go ahead.
Could very, very briefly just sort of say what Aaron left me with, which was, we definitely want to do some sort of Trails Day event that would, potentially more than one, but one at the new Waterbury section that opened a year or two ago. And so we, wanted to know if anybody had ideas for that. And then also bringing up the idea of this bike ride that happened in 2012. He said that he believed Jay Mangini was supposed to speak with someone from the Waterbury YMCA, but it looks like Jay is not here, and I'm not sure if anybody else has updates on that. So those were the sort of the two things he left me with.
And we're very fortunate when that took place. That was John Monroe, who you see in the picture there from National Park Service. He kind of was the driving force behind that. And that was I think we had about 30 bikers who came the whole length of the trail from Torrington down to Derby. Spent the whole day, and they stopped in each town. And I shouldn't say they stopped in each town, but they stopped in quite a few of the towns along the way, did a little briefing for the press. So it brought a lot of attention. So it'd be nice if something like that could be done again. But it was a big project. It was a big project. I remember a lot of the bikers came to Derby like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, left their cars in Derby, and then were transported back to Torrington with the bikes and whatnot. And then they rode back down. So it's not an easy project, but it did bring a lot of attention. So,
Jack, I have a thought on that. So it looks like the micro grant that we just talked about for DOT might help pay for some events like this. So if there was interest, maybe we can set up a small subcommittee to start kind of putting the pieces together. So when the grants opens, we would have a proposal, or we at least know what we would needed for funding to pull something like this off.
and that would have to be for next year though, right?
Well, I don't think the micro grant has opened yet, right?
That's what I'm saying. He said October, so it would have to be for next year's trails.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we'd be able to pull it off for this summer anyway.
Right.
What you could do though is have multiple towns along the route apply separately, or multiple organizations apply, and so pool together additional funds through that.
Yeah, I think if we had a committee that kind of, nobody likes more meetings, but if we had a small group of people focused on like putting together what that might look like, who from each town we would need to talk to, where we start, like pulling the details, then we can figure out the approach, whether it's multiple applications or one application sponsorships, or what we would need for them.
We have any volunteers to serve on a committee like that?
I would be happy to be part of that, and I can even be happy to do the scheduling and all that if necessary.
I'd be happy to help out, since we're at one end and you're at the other end. That might make a little sense. We need people in the middle too. Well, think about it and get back to either Rista or myself, and ideally we'll have something to present for October. Okay. Does anyone have anything going on for Trails Day? Okay, we'll have to look for other areas.
For what it's worth, for the thing we're talking about with spur trails.
Okay. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So we are going to we're planning, as I said, we have a property next. We have a athletic property with a Pent Road park where the baseball fields are, etc. And next to that, there's a parcel of land owned by the state, owned by the town, that borders the Naugatuck State Forest. And so we are planning to build 2 trails, one of which is sort of there now, right? But it is not well marked and it's not cleared. So we're planning to kind of make that a proper trail and let the public know that it connects to the Naugatuck State Forest, and then build a second return trail that comes back on a different way to kind of make a loop. So that's
and you'd be making this public for Trails Day this year?
That's right. That's right.
Good. Okay. All right, any other business or news?
If I may, I recently attended a training by Yukon Clear about a new trail mapping app by Avenza. It's a free app to use, and it collects lines and points of interest and images. So if anybody needs any mapping needs, please let me know and I can assist you. They gave me handouts and user guides that I can help you with and give out.
What's the name of it?
Avenza, I putting a link to
In the
it in the chat.
Okay, great. Or Avenza, okay. All right, anything else? All right, our next meeting is scheduled for May 8th. You know, we've been virtual during the winter, kind of makes sense, but you know, we have also moved our meetings around if there's something to see. Last year we went up to Waterbury with the you know, the new trail section that they had open. So, you know, think ahead. If there's someplace we go and see, I think it's always a big boost when people actually see new sections open and new facilities open. So think about that, and that's May 8th. With that, I think a motion to adjourn would be in order. Anyone want to make the motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain, wait a minute. I see something here. Oh, you might want to check the chat, because it does have the link in there as well. Okay. We're officially adjourned at 9:58. We'll see you in May.
Thank you, Jack. See you
Thank
later.
you.